In section 1.2, we are now looking at runoff methods. So we'll start with the runoff method and then we'll look at the sequential runoff method. So for runoff method, when no majority winner is found, remember majority is if someone gets first place on over half of the votes, sometimes a runoff election will need to be held with the top two candidates. To conduct a runoff election, you need to determine the number of firsts for each choice. In our example, so it says above, it's on page 4, I believe. It's also right here. A came in first 8 times. B came in first 5 times. C came in first 6 times. And D came in first 7 times. So we want to eliminate the two that have the least amount of first place votes. In this case, it would be B and C. So we're basically going to get rid of the B and C's on each of these lists. And we'll take a look at the result here. So if I rewrite these with the B's and C's crossed out, this would be A and D, and this is 8. This gives me D and A, which is 5. The next one is also D and A, and there were 6 of those. And then the last one is also D and A, and there were 7. So if you look at this, these 3 are showing the same thing, D having more votes than A. And so if you compare the results, A came before D 8 times, D came in first with A following 5 plus 6 plus 7, so 18 times. So because 18 is more than 8, this tells me with a runoff method that D wins. Next we have a sequential runoff method. This is fairly similar. But this only eliminates one choice at a time. So since B is ranked first the fewest number of times, it would be the choice to be eliminated. So how does that affect the vote? So I'm going to take my schedule. Let me find one here. Just going back to page 4. And let me zoom out some. So I'm going to take that schedule and make my elimination. So we said that B had the fewest number of first place votes. So we're going to cancel out just choice B and rewrite this schedule. So when I do that, if I cancel out B, I would have ACD for this first one. And there were 8. On the next one, if I cancel out B, that's going to give me CDA. And there were 5 people that voted that way. And then on the next one, if I cancel out B, I'll get CDA. And there were 6 people that voted that way. And then on the last one, if I cancel out B, I get DCA. And again, there were 7 people that voted that way. All right, so if we look at this, now we take the second smallest total and do the elimination method again. So this time, if I look at my second smallest total, A has 8, C comes in first 11 times, D comes in first 7 times. So I want to eliminate D, and when I cross D out, I want to redo the schedule. So let me go ahead and cross D out. So I've got 2 options. I could have A before C, That's what this first schedule shows. That happens 8 times. The other option is I could have C before A. And actually in all 3 of the rest of these, C is ahead of A. So 5 plus 6 plus 7 gives me 18. Oh, I realized this wasn't on the screen. So again, A is before C 8 times, C is before A 18 times. So in this case, C wins. So in this section, we saw that we were able to, depending on how we looked at this, we were able to come up with A being the winner, with B being the winner, with D being the winner, and then with C being the winner, depending on how we ran our election.